Some stuff very much lines up with my feelings of the game, especially on the English side. But I think that's just because, like, Americans are very bitchy. Can't make any of those Westerners happy, huh? They always want something changed. They want rollback netcode, they want better lobbies, they want crossplay. It's always fucking something. And now you want our game to be free? Jesus Christ, cancel it, shut everything down, close the windows, take this thing and throw it the f over there, bye-bye. What's up, dudes? Max here. Before we jump in and talk about DNF Duel and the things I'm looking forward to it and some of the responses from the beta and what I'm hoping for, I wanted to talk to you guys about today's sponsor of the video, which is Dungeon Fighter Online. I'm sure many of you guys have tried this game out at some point because it's been around for a long time, but DFO is a free-to-play multiplayer hack and slash game with side-scrolling retro-style arcade action. It's a 2D MMORPG with classic pixel graphics that we've checked out a few times, and you can join all these action-packed raids and dungeons with people from all over the world with 16 unique characters and a ton of customizations and over 60 class advancements that can fit your desired playstyle, some of which I really hope show up in DNF Duel. There's also the new Blitz character advancement update. It's the 5th advancement to the Gunner class, and Blitz will be updated. New users are constantly welcome, and there's specifically an event for this where you can team up with veterans right now, get their help with dungeons and raids, and then get rewards for some of these missions like logging in and clearing some of these optimal level dungeons. Again, Dungeon Fighter Online is receiving a big update and is one of the biggest 2D massive online role-playing games there is. If you'd like to give it a shot, you can scroll down to my video description section to check out Dungeon Fighter Online yourself for free today. So DNF Duel, we're a few weeks out, and I actually missed the game. No shit. I played as much DNF Duel as I possibly could in the first beta, and I played even more in the second beta. I think it got significantly better in the second beta, as we explained, but goddamn, man, I actually missed the game. I know some people won't, right? I know some people, like, either hit with the game or didn't, and I watch some YouTubers that are really on board with DNF Duel, or are really not on board. But for me, there's enough goofy, fun stuff that allowed me to really enjoy my experience and the few characters that I did play. So to me, I actually have the itch. To me, DNF Duel is kind of itchy, and I'm looking forward to playing more of the game. However, it's clear that the game isn't perfect, and there's a lot of things that I really want in DNF Duel going forward that I hope make it. I don't know if it's going to be the great bridging gap of casual DFO players that will bring everybody into DNF Duel. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it does have some stuff that is genuinely fun and kind of crazy and very different than a lot of traditional 1v1 fighting games. We're just going to give characters gigantic things and crazy powerful tools and specials, but have very limited mobility. I wanted to talk about the surveys. Most of us took surveys after the betas were done, and we had a lot of conversations about mechanic stuff, defensive mechanics, offensive mechanics, game balance, which characters are good, which characters are bad, yada, yada, yada. Believe it or not, the DNF guys posted that stuff on their Twitter. They're like, here's the results from it. And it's kind of interesting, the difference between the audiences, like the Japanese side of the audience, like the Asian territory side of the audience, and the American ones, of how the game seemingly is received very differently. In some ways, from what I was able to very briefly check, a lot of like the Asian communities or the other side of where people are playing this game were kind of like cool with it and really liked the game. And I don't know if it's a cultural thing, while the Americans, if not a lot of people that are not from that territory, including myself, was very aggressive on the things that hopefully can get fixed. We actually hope the game turns into something that's even crazier than what it is to allow for more nutty stuff to happen. So, what improved from the last beta? Overwhelming result of people said that the new playable character Ghostblade was the thing that improved the most. And yes, of course, he was a brand new character. And obviously, network optimization was better in this one, although still had issues. There was 3 times as many network issues present in beta 1 and compared to beta 2. So yes, that technically is true. What's your evaluation of the second beta? Satisfactory. And that's where I kind of set as well. I felt like, yeah, I was pretty happy with it, right? I actually want to play more. Am I very satisfactory? Yeah, I don't know. And look how all over the place this is. Which character did you like the most? Oh my God. That pie this looks like a Chuck E. Cheese pizza. Like, this thing is all over the place, man. Clearly, 18.5% went to Ghostblade, I think. Is that Crusader? No, Crusader's over here. That's actually a very good chart. Ghostblade was the new character, so a lot of people just naturally gravitated towards him, which I did as well. But that's a good sign that, man, a lot of the characters in the game, even though there's like, oh, no, way more people play Grappler than I thought. Wow, is that Hitman and Berserker have some smaller? That's crazy. To me, it's crazy that not a lot of people played Berserker because he's actually kind of low considering that he might have some of the most fun in the game. And you know what? I don't blame him because that's one of the things that happened with me with Berserker. I saw that there was not a whole bunch of people playing this character, and I was like, I'm gonna play this character. I haven't run into anybody playing Berserker. I'm gonna play Berserker. What did you like the most about DNF Duel? I'm not even gonna look at this one. I'm gonna say it's the characters. Characters, of course. Yeah, the characters. The game systems, I don't know. The skill motions, definitely not. I'd probably put characters and then art style right after it. I think my top pick, because you can only pick one, was characters as well. Let's go back and just see really quick. Let's see the Japanese side and if things are dramatically different. Do we see any crazy differences? A little bit, not entirely. And then if we go down to overall evaluation, at least on the Japanese side of things, they were very satisfied. They really liked this game. Wow. Okay, that's a large jump. And the pie is a little more skewed here, but not that much. But the nice part is that there's a nice amount of variety. Even the game being played in a variety of different ways, or different countries and stuff like that, is showing a similar thing, that a lot of people playing a lot of different characters. For us, it was characters, and for the Japanese side, it was game system. That's a big difference. And I wonder if that's like a cultural thing, where just like maybe there's like just accept the way the game is and don't have any feedback. There's a lot of feedback to be had from the American side, you know? Game system is about the same, but what's the one that actually is even bigger? They like the fact that there's no motion inputs. They really appreciate that aspect. And then art style is about the same as well. Which character do you think is currently the strongest? I would have said, which character do you think is the strongest? I would have 100% said Crusader. 36.3 goes towards it's too early to say. And that's fair. Where's Crusader? Oh, it looks like I was right. The next biggest one is Crusader. Which character has the most interesting and fun playstyle? I answered Berserker. After all the characters I played, I answered Berserker. Which one wins? Ghostblade wins, really? It seemed like Berserker is like the Ryu, easy to jump in, like maybe middle of the road character. No, that was Striker. Striker was the character that seemed like it was very easy for you just to jump in, press buttons, and get away with dank, crazy shit. The Japanese side of the developers are definitely going to be paying attention to it, especially the Japanese end of how this survey is going. Majin Obama says there's a weird cultural thing for asking stuff in games in Japan. That's what I'm assuming that this kind of is, you know? I think accepting what you're given might be like a cultural thing, you know, which would make a lot of sense. Like, don't bitch too much. That's a very good observation. Now, I was kind of assuming that might be the case, even leading into this. These are some interesting answers, right? Some stuff very much lines up with my feelings of the game, especially on the English side. But I think that's just because, like, Americans are very bitchy. Can't make any of those Westerners happy, huh? It's interesting feedback. Here's the thing that kind of worries me with DNF Duel, and especially considering that we got the release date and the time frame of the game. The thing that scares me is its price tag. DNF Duel is not a full-priced fighting game. It's 50 bucks. The stuff that I was initially hoping for when there was the beta back in December of last year was, it felt like the game was already in a pretty decent state. Like, there wasn't a lot of crazy busted stuff outside of like network issues. The fidelity of the game, if not, I'd say the overall execution of what they're going for in DNF Duel was working. Like, if you don't have the perspective of how video games are designed and what they turn into and how many states of this shit can go horribly wrong if you guys haven't made a fighting game in a long time, which could be the situation here, that game could have been in a much worse state when we played the beta, but it wasn't. I was like, this is shockingly pretty good for Arc System Works and aiding collab. This is pretty sick. I hope it gets better, but it's pretty sick. So it was my hope that maybe they already figured out how the game's really gonna play and they got all this stuff down, and maybe they're spending their time on single player content. I was hoping that DNF Duel would potentially have a DFO style mode that could essentially piggyback on what like RPG elements sort of exist in DFO. They practically did this with Grand Blue Fantasy Versus already. Grand Blue had this like side-scrolling dungeon thing where you could sort of fight things a la Tekken Force mode. That felt like this just fits this shit perfectly. Let us go into a situation where we run around with our characters doing big-ass special moves, knocking up 30 to 60 enemies in giant whirlwind towers of destruction. Sounds awesome. And then you bounce them into your friend and they do their crazy moves. Oh my God, this seems like this is gonna be great. This is gonna be super sick. And then the price of the game hit and it's 50 bucks. And I would be very happy if I'm wrong here. I don't know if DNF Duel is going to have much beyond like the basic arcade mode offering for its single player, and how much that arcade mode slash story mode, whatever it does end up having by the time it does come out, whatever that ends up being, could be the extent of what its offline content technically is. Practically making the game, for the most part, a multiplayer game. And it's supposed to have a story slash arcade mode. Like there is things in there, but if it's a $50 game, if there's already going to be a limited price tag, and I'm like, so why is it 50 bucks? Is it a small roster? No, it has a decent amount of characters. It's gonna have like 16 to 18 characters at the start, and it's gonna have online, right? Which is the majority of fighting games now. How crazy impressive is that story mode slash arcade mode going to be? And I'm a little worried that it's not gonna be. I'm a little worried that it might not have the offerings that you would hope would bring in the a casual audience, if not a non-fighting game audience that plays games like DFO, and bring them in to check this one out, outside of just the appeal of characters and what Dungeon Fighter is and how long it's existed. So that's the thing I'm kind of worried about with the future of DNF Duel. I think there is going to be refinement of mechanics. I think things will actually speed up or get changed. I think that the game's online systems will be a lot better at launch. I'd like to think that. And things will be functioning with proper ranked and player and room matches. It'll be a functioning online multiplayer fighting game. Sick. That's good for me. That's not going to be great for everybody. That's going to make the game very niche, right? And depending on the severity of its offline content, depending on how good that story mode, arcade mode is, how long it technically lasts for a lot of people, is going to be up in the air. But the age-old question of, is this game worth 50 bucks, right? Is this game going to be worth 50 bucks? And depending on how that single-player content comes out, it's going to be a hard sell for people unless you are a hardcore fighting game fan. Unless you know that you're going to jump online and that's one of the things you're going to be spending a lot of time with. That's the tough part now, where for me, I mean, in my situation, if I just want to play fighting games, if I want to play it now, not play it again for a long time and come back when new characters come out, sure, you know, that's going to be fine. But it's guaranteed that there's going to be more characters that will be DLC, just like the usual Arc system works run of the mill. The bigger issue is there going to be enough stuff that'll be in the game single player wise to bridge the gap to get them into the multiplayer. I don't know, man. I would love to be like the champion of this game in some way, because I really do think it's fun and I really love the characters and I really appreciate some of the design decisions behind having big powerful moves, right? I want to get behind that. I feel like if there's one person that can champion that shit, I like that. But asking for a crazy amount of success from a game that has a very little bit of like offline offerings, it's gonna be rough, man. I hope that's not the case. I hope that there's like at least enough stuff to do in the game outside of just online multiplayer that will pull people in and allow people to at least try this stuff. Because that question is getting harder and harder to answer.